All right, today we're diving into a really powerful story by Alphonse Daudet, set during the Franco-Prussian War. It's a fascinating look at a little boy, one final class, and it explores what happens when a community is told overnight that they can't speak their own language anymore.
So let's meet our narrator. He's a young boy from a region in France called Alsace, and his name is Franz. And his day kicks off with a feeling I think we can all remember from our school days: pure anxiety.
For Franz, this just feels like any other morning. You know, he's worried about being late, and he's even more worried because there's a test on participles that he's completely forgotten to study for. The usual stuff. And here you really get a sense of his world. On one hand, you've got the totally relatable thoughts of a kid. The weather is amazing, birds are chirping, and he's so tempted to just skip school altogether. But then on the other hand, there's this ominous detail. He sees Prussian soldiers drilling nearby. It's just this quiet, constant reminder of the military occupation that's hanging over their lives. As Franz is rushing through town, he sees something that just gives him a bad feeling. There's a crowd around the town's bulletin board. And you have to understand, for the last 2 years of the war, that board has been the source of nothing but bad news. Lost battles, draft orders, you name it. It's become a symbol of everything they've lost. So, of course, that's the question zipping through his mind. What could it possibly be now? He doesn't actually stop to check, but seeing that crowd plants a seed of dread. He knows something's up, and that feeling just hangs in the air as he hurries on to school. But when Franz finally gets to the school, that feeling of unease, it only gets stronger. See, he was hoping he could sneak into class during all the usual morning chaos, but what he finds is something else entirely. The difference is just jarring. Normally, the schoolyard is a total great bustle, with the sounds of desks opening and lessons being shouted all together. But today, it's as quiet as a Sunday morning. And that silence is the first huge clue that this is not an ordinary day. Inside, it gets even weirder. His teacher, Monsieur Hamel, is wearing his best clothes, the kind he only wears for inspections or special ceremonies. And then, the biggest shock of all, the back benches, which are always empty, are filled with the elders from the village. The former mayor, the postmaster, they're all there, just sitting quietly. And everyone looks incredibly sad. Franz has absolutely no clue what is going on. So as Mr. Hamel walks to the front of the class, the reason for this strange, heavy atmosphere is about to be revealed. And it all comes down to a single, devastating sentence. And there it is. Hamel announces that this will be their very last lesson in French. An order has come from Berlin, from the Prussian authorities. From now on, the only language that will be taught in the schools is German. For Franz, this news hits him like a physical shock, a thunderclap. And in that single moment, everything clicks. The crowd at the town hall, the eerie quiet at the school, the village elders sitting in the back of his classroom. He finally understands. And just like that, Franz's entire world shifts. He's suddenly flooded with regret for every lesson he ever skipped. His school books, which he always thought were a nuisance, now feel like old friends he's about to lose. And his teacher, M. Hamel, is no longer just a cranky old guy with a ruler. He's a man whose whole life's work is being taken away. And Franz finally gets why the elders are there. They came to pay their respects to their teacher and to a country that was no longer theirs. With this totally new awareness, Franz sits through his final lesson, and for the very first time in his life, he truly, actually listens. And what happens is kind of amazing. The grammar that he always found so impossible, suddenly it seems easy. He realizes he'd never really paid attention before, and that his teacher had never taught with this much patience. It was as if M. Hamel was trying to pour 40 years of love and knowledge for his language into this one final hour. During the lesson, Monsieur Hamel gives this incredible, heartfelt tribute to the French language. He doesn't just talk about it as a school subject. No, he describes it as something precious, the most beautiful and logical language in the world, something they must protect. And this is the most powerful idea in the whole story. Hamel tells them that holding on to their language is like holding the key to their own prison. Think about that. Language isn't just a bunch of words. It's your identity, it's your culture, it's a form of resistance. as long as you have your language, your spirit can never truly be conquered. While Franz is listening, he hears pigeons cooing on the roof, and he has this wonderfully innocent but also incredibly profound thought. He wonders, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? It just perfectly captures how absurd and total this cultural takeover is. Can you really force nature itself to change? And then, just like that, time's up. The end of the lesson, and really the end of an era, arrives with the sound of the church clock striking the hour. These last few moments unfold with such a heavy sense of finality. The lesson finishes, the clock strikes noon, and at that exact same moment, the trumpets of the returning Prussian soldiers echo from outside. And with that, Monsieur Hamels stands up. He tries to speak, to give some kind of final farewell, but he's just completely overwhelmed with emotion. The words won't come out. I mean, can you imagine? 40 years of his life, his faithful service, all ending in this one silent, heartbreaking moment. Since he can't speak, he turns to the blackboard, grabs a piece of chalk, and with all the strength he has left, he writes 2 words as large as he possibly can. Vive la France! Long live France! It's his final lesson, a silent act of defiance and a testament to his love for his country. Then, without another word, he just leans his head against the wall and gestures with his hand. The class is over. The last French lesson has been given. You know, the story leaves us with some pretty powerful takeaways. First, that language is so much more than just grammar. It is the very heart of a culture's identity. It also shows us that we often don't really appreciate what we have until it's about to be taken away. And it's a beautiful look at how a crisis can change a relationship, like the one between a student and a teacher, forever. In the end, the last lesson leaves us with this one huge question to think about. It's not just about losing words, is it? It's about losing a connection to your history, to your community, and to a fundamental part of who you are. And that question, it resonates far beyond this little classroom, and it's still incredibly relevant today.